Okay, this is gonna sound a little odd, but I kinda have a weird reaction towards the Idiot's Lantern. It's a production with solid acting and writing, as well as some memorable moments, but every time I think about it, I kinda get this regurgitating feeling. So when it came for me to watch it for this marathon, I was a little anxious to see whether or not I might actually be comfortable sitting through it again. And honestly, I'm kinda surprised because I actually started to grow to like parts of it. The Doctor and Rose land in London of 1953, where every house is getting a brand new television sold by Magpie's Electricals to watch the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. However, it turns out there is actually something hiding within the televisions. An incorporeal red lightning energy alien known as the Wire, played by Maureen Lipman, which has taken the form of the TV announcer's face. With the help of Magpie, played by Ron Cook, the Wire intends to regain her physical body by consuming enough energy essence from the minds of the coronation television audience. One thing I realized today, which I don't think I realized the first time watching it, was how the director of photography shot scenes concerning high ground authority. If you look at scenes with characters like Eddie Connolly over his family, the detective interrogating the doctor, or Rose confronting Magpie, you might notice how, by the way the scene is shot, that the characters are filmed in a low-high angle, whereas other characters are filmed in a low angle, indicating that they have the high ground. That was kind of when I noticed, particular with the Connolly family, the theme of patriarchy. Since this is literally taking place after the Second World War, this is the big revolutionary generation. How the men of high authorities are still trying to hold their ground as being the ones in charge during a time when new things are being introduced, like the reveal of the television or the coronation of the Queen. It hints that times are changing and they are both excited but frightened of how it could affect their old ways. Again, it ties in well with the television being a new thing in this time period. In particular, Eddie Connolly, played by Jamie Foreman, a war veteran who has gone a little insane after the war, trying to use his anger to fuel his control of perfecting his own domain. You can tell from the camera shots of him towering over his family, he's trying to hold his reputation whilst trying to protect his family. But when he's met with occurrences like the grandma getting faceless, or the doctor or his family talking him down, he is shocked and cowering in fear. All of that comes to a well-earned scene where his son confronts him, reminding him that he did fight in a war to give everyone their own free will and freedom of choice and speech. One little detail I did like is that the title was named after a certain slam term by some people in the past, how they go around saying television is turning your brain into soup. So it's kind of funny to see the main villain being a creature that sucks away people's faces and sticking them to the screens. That's a clever yet mad funny idea of an alien threat, as well as a decent subtle metaphor of people losing your personality or identity just by staring at the screen. Much like previous stories like Unquiet Dead, Empty Child and Girl in the Fireplace, I do get a sense of realism in the story from the setting. The location team did a good job in finding streets that look very similar to the ones in 1950s Britain. Even the props are very accurate. Stuff like the trucks, fans and cars, the living rooms, the furniture, but the television sets are spot on. Even the faceless victims are really impressive. Apparently they did have some supporting artists wear prosthetic faceless masks, but for some others they just put on some darts and digitally remove their face. But the one thing I didn't know until I did a couple of research, the face of the Wire is actually based on an actual news presenter at the time. So big props to the casting and director, as well as the makeup department, for making the actress almost look exactly like the actual person. The Wire has to be one of the most biased villains in the revival show. On the one hand, it's a pretty creepy, stealthy little minx of a bad guy, how it blends into the technology and in order to survive, uses the power energy that she has to feed on people's essences. But other times, she's so over the top you cannot take her seriously. But it really is Maureen Lipman's performance that makes the character fun to watch. She is having a ball with this role. I just love how she plays it almost like a nanny or a mentor, but at the same time she has that little creepy, sinister chuckle. I just couldn't help but smile. So what was it about this episode that actually got me concerned about watching this? Well, maybe one thing that might have distracted me was how the plot seemed to resemble Little Shop of Horrors. The alien plot, the characters, and even some of the camera shots are very similar to the actual musical film. I mean, we do have a main villain screaming, "Feed me." Originally, I thought maybe it was because as a child I used to have nightmares of the original Little Shop of Horrors musical that I didn't want to be reminded of it, so I had to remove myself away from this episode. But as I got older, I actually started to love Little Shop of Horrors, and I did get a chance to watch this episode again without getting any anxious distractions, so perhaps that wasn't the main issue. There were other stuff that do not work for me, like when the Doctor finds the portable television, he just licks it. I mean, I know he's an alien, but even that's just gross. Why would he do that? Perhaps the only thing that really did bug me, or in fact angered me, is the Doctor and Rose relationship. This is the point where their relationship starts to become really obnoxious and really cheesy. It's really obvious they're going for the romantic side of the Doctor and companion dynamic, which I am not a fan of. Stuff like the duo riding on a motorcycle is fine, I mean, that was kind of cool. But I'm talking about when Rose has to interact with the crowd. It's almost like she's trying to imitate David Tennant's performance badly. Okay, stuff like her putting Mr. Connolly in his place to put up the flags, or confronting Magpie are well intentional, but that stupid face that she makes. But that's not to say Billie Piper did an awful job. She did actually play the role pretty well. It's not her fault. At least with Rose getting taken by the wire, it does let us get to see a few moments of the Time Lord's fury. So yeah, this is a really strange one for me. I dreaded having to watch this episode, but now I did find myself liking some things to appreciate a little more, like the EastEnders-style family drama, an over-the-top yet stealthy villain, the subtle hint of patriarchy, the theme of changes mixed with the freedom of speech, oh, and a pretty fun climax on top of a television station. I even liked how it gave a bit of history. I mean, I've always wanted to know when did the Queen get coronated. Honestly, the only thing I didn't like was Rose's cocky attitude. But other than that, I am really surprised to see how my opinion for the story has changed. And you know what? That is not a bad thing.